How's it going, everyone? Welcome back. Hopefully everyone is having, well, the best day you can be having on a Bengals loss Sunday. A Bengals loss that was not a pretty one. Arguably the ugliest loss under the Joe Burrow regimen here. Bengals lose 24-3. Joe Burrow, again, arguably, not really argued, statistically even, the worst game of his career, throwing for under 100 yards, no touchdowns. Bengals seemingly could not figure anything out this game. I mean, T. Higgins went receptionless till dang near end of this game. You barely seen Boyd get involved. It was Jamar Chase a little bit, and it was ugly. We went into this game saying, hey, we don't bet against the Bengals very often. We try not to be biased personally, but can be a little bit biased. Be a little bit of a homer. It's like, hey, I thought the Bengals were going to lose this football game, and they did. So from that regard, it wasn't a surprise. Some people were kind of panicking about it. Some people were a little concerned about it. Me, it's just another game. At this point in time in the juncture, we just have to accept the fact that Zach Taylor is, under his regimen, is always going to be kind of accepting of the fact, like, hey, the Bengals probably won't fight for a number one seed ever, because this is every single year. They come in unprepared, on game plan. They don't practice in the preseason. Now, of course, Joe Burrow has been hurt and he's had problems the last couple of seasons, so maybe that's different. But this is pretty much a carbon copy of what's happened previously. Last year where they didn't look like they had a clue against the Steelers last season. And it might be next week where they still struggle, and it takes a couple weeks to get into the flow of things. Unfortunately, that's been the Bengal way, where they seem to get out game plan, especially early in the season. In the first half, they adjust a little bit, play a little bit in the second half. The other thing is, the Browns have had the Bengals number, no questions about it. They've dominated the Bengals, especially at home. Bengals have to go into Cleveland. It's been tough. And then you factor in the fact that it was dumping rain a lot of the game. We watched both quarterbacks kind of throwing the rock around, missing a lot of open guys, overthrowing, underthrowing. Clearly a big factor in this game. So from all that, it was honestly, it was a recipe for disaster for the Bengals, and that's what they got. That was worst case scenario for the Cincinnati Bengals this season. I don't think we see a game like that again the rest of the season. I don't think we see anything close to a game like that. We might not see a game like that under Joe Burrow, the career for Joe Burrow, the rest of his career. But it happened. The Bengals got to move on from it. You kind of, it's kind of one of those games, like you just take it in the chin, you keep going and say, hey, this is standard at this point in time. You're almost numb to the feeling where you expect to lose to the Browns. You expect it to be ugly. It's happened 2 seasons in a row, and that hasn't stopped them from going to the AFC Championship game. It hasn't stopped them from going to the Super Bowl. That being said, though, that doesn't stop, the fact that they did have an ugly game. Now, Joe Mixon, there's a couple, you gotta look at the bright sides here. Joe Mixon, 4.3 yards per carry, they looked kind of sprang out there, made a couple good runs. On the ground game seemed to be working for both teams there in that regards. Secondary, he was watching these young guys that are going to really stand out. The corners played great. I think we've seen DJ Turner make a couple good plays. We've seen Cam Taylor-Britt make a couple good plays. But we did see also multiple times, and we talked about this as well before the game, we said Deshaun Watson can't win the Browns the game, and he didn't. But he sure as heck could lose them the game. We've seen that one interception. We've seen a couple times wide open in the secondary, had him beat. He just overthrew him, or he underthrew him. That's going to happen when you have a young secondary. You have some guys that are non-starters. You got some rookies. You got some second-year guys that ain't had a lot of playing time. So I guess if you're going to get it out of the way, you get it out of the way early, especially if you're going to lose a game like that anyway. So hopefully that's the one area you want to see him grow from. You want to see him improve, is make sure that secondary continues to go up. I mean, or even early in this game, though, Bengals get a little bit of pressure on the quarterback, something they typically don't do against the Browns. So credit to those guys. Again, it's difficult in the conditions. And, when you start to fall behind in this game and you're constantly got your defense in the game, and they're going to get worn down, they're going to get gassed out, you're not going to be as effective. But overall, it's a really tough game to grade. You can look and say, hey, I thought Joe Mixon looked all right. I thought Jamar Chase still looked like Jamar Chase. Burrow had a bad game. Again, you got to take it how it is. He did not have a good game. A lot of it could be weather put together. It could be the fact that he didn't get a preseason. But it was an ugly game, and that's okay. Like I said, it's not something to be too overworried about. I'm not panicking about it. Might give it 2 weeks. We'll see what happens with the Ravens game. We've seen Williams possibly kind of torn pec over there for a Ravens secondary that's already missing some guys. I mean, the Burrow could come back and bounce back real quickly. We know he's had big success against the Ravens in the past. He could do it again. It's really been back and forth with the Ravens. You've had that, and then you had the Ravens just completely dominate the Bengals offensive line, where Zach Taylor is running the football when they're losing by 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to protect the quarterback, even in the third quarter, if you remember that year. So we'll see what we get out of the Ravens Bengals. We'll take a bigger look into how the Ravens are playing this season. As far as the Bengals offensive line goes, That was a little bit of a concern again. I think it's going to be difficult, or probably is more difficult, being an offensive lineman, trying to hold the blocks, however, again, in the weather conditions. You don't want to blame everything on the weather conditions, but you don't really know. I always like, my favorite thing to compare is, if we remember, you guys remember, it was Bengals Patriots in their prime, and the Bengals went out there and beat Tom Brady. It was like 13-6 in a very nasty weather game. And to hold somebody like Tom Brady down to 6 points, I mean, it can happen to anybody. Games like that happen when the conditions present. So really interested to see what happens these next couple weeks. But yeah, we've seen the offensive line in the interior. It seemed like it collapsed a couple of times there. We'll see how the tackles play. Again, not something to panic about. We talked about this. 2 new linemen. You got, well, not 2 new, but 2 new positions, we should say. Orlando Brown and then Jonah Williams shifting over there. And again, it's going to take a couple weeks. I don't think it takes as long as it did last season. Last season, you expected with all those new faces, but I don't think it'll take as long as last season. But again, it might be 2 to 4 weeks until we start to see them really step it up. And then, halfway through the season, they might start playing at that above average elite level. We'll see. Right now, though, got to be patient with these Bengals. It's nice to get some football in. It would have been nice if they scored a touchdown. But hey, the Reds scored more points today, at least. They had that going for them. Nonetheless, love you guys' thoughts. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.